right, we're here with Tate. Tate, can you tell us? Tell us about your time here on set.
I was asleep.
I know I gotta start looking too, but oh my god, I think I'm doomed. Like every minute gets harder, rank gets steeper, and soon enough I'm gonna
I've been abused in a number of different ways. Tate has swept my legs out from under me.
a couple cheap laughs and a deep regret. Baby, you are just another thing I'm lost to.
Hi everyone, Sam here. A warm welcome back to Pictures Up Productions. I know it's been a while since the last one, and all of my hair has fallen out since then, and I just want to thank you all for sticking around in the meantime. I've been very busy finishing my first ever feature film, Death, Love, and Birthdays, and that's actually exactly what we're here to talk about today, so let's get into it. So just to clarify that title, yes, I did make a feature film at 19 years old. Technically, I started writing it when I was 18, and then I turned 19, and then I shot the movie, and then I started editing, and then I turned 20, and then I finished editing. My last video months ago covered my filmmaker origin story pretty thoroughly, so I won't rehash all of that. All you need to know is ever since I was a little kid, I've wanted to make movies for the rest of my life. And thankfully, I grew up right in the advent of digital technologies that allowed me to get in years of practice. So by the time I picked up my first DSLR in 8th grade, I had a better sense of how to tell visual stories than I would have if I was just going in cold. I kept working on film and video projects throughout high school, worked an internship for a local production company for 2 summers, and by the time my senior year rolled around, I had completed 16 major projects if you start counting in 8th grade. And I love making short films, but by this point in my life, I was a little bit tired of them. After all, it wasn't short films that got me interested in this whole thing in the first place. It was features. Actually, a common critique of my short film One Night in Squatchtown was that it felt like I was trying to do too much in too short a runtime, almost like I was trying to squeeze a feature's worth of story into a short film. And that's a completely valid take. I think I've always wanted to go long form and give my characters more of a chance to develop slowly. Classmates, educators, friends, and family, it's an honor to be standing here as the salutatorian of North Hall High School's class of 2024. I doubt that many of us made it out completely unscathed. I can say from experience that some of us felt like we would never see the end of these years. Now that we're here, it almost doesn't feel real. So much of my childhood happened in a tiny 1-mile radius and involved many of the same people. My elementary school, middle school, and high school are all basically walking distance from one another, so senior year, with its promise of leaving that little street, was a very nostalgic time for me. I spent a lot of it looking back, thinking about all the little moments I had in public school, the relationships that started and ended, the friendships I was scared to lose. I thought about a goal I had set for myself during my freshman year: to make a feature film by the end of high school. Well, it was already too late to do that, but the best thing I could do, I figured, was to start right then and right there. I got this sense that if I didn't hit the ground running almost immediately, I would allow myself to overthink it and talk myself out of the whole thing. I was in a race against my own brain, and I was determined to win. So, what's the script about? Well, it's about a kid named Casey, who lives in Greenville, South Carolina. Just before he turns 17, his mother, Rachel, tells him that his grandfather has passed away that morning, and the funeral is on Casey's birthday. They'll be traveling to Gainesville, Georgia, my real-life hometown, to attend the funeral. Now, when they get to Gainesville, they stay with Rachel's sister, Heather, and her 2 kids, Isabel and Ezra, Casey's cousins. Isabel is a burnt-out, former gifted kid, much like myself, and Ezra is a chronically depressed, aimless business major in a dead-end long-term relationship. Things are actually off to a decent, albeit awkward start until Ezra accidentally drops a bombshell at dinner.
So, do you guys have anything planned for the summer?
Yeah, we were actually gonna spend some time at the lake house. Oh, shit.
Heather was left a lake house in her father's will, while Rachel, the more estranged of the 2 daughters, received nothing. You see, these 2 did not have a great relationship with their father. While Rachel dealt with his cruelty by cutting her entire family off, Heather dealt with it by staying put and trying to stay in his good graces.
So I was just supposed to stay here then? Subject myself to that?
You did what you had to do. I'm just saying I don't think the consequences are that surprising, are they?
As if things weren't going badly enough by this point, Casey's girlfriend breaks up with him over the phone right after dinner. The next morning, the entire family miserably piles into Heather's car and goes to the funeral, where Casey meets one of Isabel's classmates, Jackie, whose father works for Casey's grandfather's company. They go home and throw Casey the world's saddest birthday party, and this is when we get some important insight from Casey's voiceovers.
On my 17th birthday, I resigned myself to the fact that I come from a family of unknowable people. Nothing ever changes. The long family tradition of emotional unavailability didn't start with, and won't end, with me.
Thanks, guys.
On their way out, Heather extends an olive branch to Rachel, inviting her and Casey to spend a week in the lake house that June. Rachel initially turns down her offer, but as you might be able to guess, they do end up going. I won't go into specifics about the rest of the film because I want you to be able to see it for yourself eventually, but to speak more broadly, this is a film about unknowable people. It's a film about the type of connections and friendships you experience that seem like they can't last forever, the ones that form only under the right circumstances and dissipate once that lightning in a bottle is gone. I think if I'm Casey, I think of Ezra and Isabel as my friends from high school theater, the type of people that really only had one thing in common with me, and it was a passion for the arts. If you've never done theater, while you're doing a show with someone, they really become your family for a short period, and once it's over, they often become strangers again, just like that, and that's the type of connection that Death, Love, and Birthdays is about, and the title references the only three things that ever seem to bring these people together. Hey everybody, I am making this video because I want to talk to you about a dream that I've had my entire life. Holy shit, my hair used to be really long. By the time we started crowdfunding, I had it mostly figured out. This go, go, go attitude I had that compelled me to start writing the script early on was still very much in full effect by this point. Starting a fundraising campaign made it real. It gave me no option to back out. And you could definitely argue that this was a bad idea and could have led to a lack of planning and that the production was rushed, but for someone like me, a chronic overthinker and overplanner, I think lighting a fire under my own ass was actually a very effective motivator and led me to a script that's a lot more raw, genuine, and emotionally vulnerable than what I might have come up with otherwise. I didn't want this to be a perfectly planned, intricate, left-brained story. I wanted it to be powered by raw emotion and passion. I wanted it to feel like a distillation of a moment and of my mindset in that moment. So I enlisted the help of our casting director and my best friend since middle school, Mandy Baker, and we began casting the film. Some of them were people I knew I wanted from the start, and some of them were people I found through casting calls or through mutual connections. My friend Reese returned for this project, marking his 4th time composing an original score for one of my films. I truly can't imagine where this film, or my filmmaking career, would be without Reese. He brings such a unique talent to every project that I could never even hope to begin to replicate. Now, this film's on-set crew was very small, maxing out at 6 people on our most busy day. My girlfriend Chanel and my friend Mandy, who I introduced earlier, were the film's 2 assistant directors. Most days on set, it was just me and one of them, maybe both of them if I was lucky, but there were certainly days where it was just me. We had managed to raise almost $2,000 to make the film, which might sound like a lot, but even with volunteer actors and crew members, that budget is stretched very thin across the course of an entire feature. I've said before that Death, Love, and Birthdays is a film working in sort of the idiom of community theater. It's a scrappy production held together by duct tape and volunteers and a pipe dream. Without exaggeration, this was the best summer I've had since I was a little kid. I got to spend so many days watching these incredible, talented people bring these words that I wrote to life. Having just made the decision to not go the traditional film school route, I was lucky to have such a hands-on learning experience, unlike anything film school could have offered me. This was my film school. That August, after an amazing couple of months of principal photography, that momentum I'd had from the very beginning finally began to slow down. I moved to college, which was a huge adjustment for me. A whole new city, let alone living in a dorm in that new city, took a lot of getting used to. Progress on the movie stalled significantly. The overthinking I feared at the beginning of this process began to actually creep back into my head. And for the first time since I began, I was losing the race against my own brain. I began to psych myself out, realizing how high I had set my expectations for myself. I was, at many times, too anxious anxious to work on the film because it seemed so important and significant and such a seminal moment in my career that I felt I had to be in a particular perfect mindset, this sort of pure artistic flow state, in order to get anything done at all. Initially, I had been hopeful about premiering the film during winter break, which is very funny looking back, but I didn't even finish the first rough cut until February. By the time I moved out of my dorm in early May, I still had a long way to go, so the month of May was devoted almost entirely to editing. I went on a trip, came back home, and then I worked some more. In the spirit of lighting a fire under my ass, though, I decided to schedule a premiere date, July 12th. This was as exciting as it was horrifying. There was now a day I could point to on a calendar that served as my hard deadline. Hey everyone, I'm Sam Morgan, writer, director, and editor of the feature film Death, Love, and Birthdays, and I'm so excited to announce that we will finally, on July 12th, be premiering the film at the North Hall High School Performing Arts Center. Give or take 2 weeks before the premiere, I had a version of the film completed that I was proud of, and that I would have been happy screening for our premiere audience. But I kept working anyway. After all, editing is never really done. It's only done when you stop. I could go back right now and keep making little adjustments to the film. I'm sure I would find something to do. But at a certain point, you have to just decide that the film is ready. But with this one, I worked up until the literal last second, exporting the very final premiere edit of the film the morning of the event. And I'll probably revisit it several more times by the time our film festival run begins, because I'm a perfectionist about these things. But the point is, for all intents and purposes, the film is complete. It had its first public audience at our premiere screening, and it's already being judged by 14 film festivals. Unfortunately, I probably can't release it publicly until we're done with our festival run. However, I will be posting regular updates about selections, and maybe you'll be able to come catch it in a city near you. If not, it will eventually be released digitally for you to watch from the comfort of your own home. I will always count myself lucky that I had the opportunity to do this, not thanks to money or from a big studio deal, but thanks to kindness. This was only possible because of an amazing community that decided they wanted to back me up. They decided this was a film they wanted to see on the big screen, and they did what they could to make that dream a reality. I'm forever indebted to every single name in those scrolling end credits. This was possible for me not just due to my own skills or my own follow-through, but through a particular set of circumstances. I really can only take so much credit for this, considering I'm in a position that very few people ever find themselves in. The existence of this film makes me so grateful for everything that has been afforded to me, and I hope that the film is good enough that it's worth all of the love and work that went into it. So I've been wanting to tell you all that story for quite some time, and I'm so glad I finally got a chance to do so. I plan to do a more specific and in-depth behind-the-scenes video once the film is out, but for now I just wanted to give you all a sense of where I've been. It feels amazing to be back on YouTube. I have a couple of other videos already in the works that I'm researching, and I'm really excited to share with you. Again, thank you so much for sticking around, even in my absence. It means a lot to me that people like you are interested enough in what I do to watch these videos. And I hope, and I think, that these next few will really raise the bar. So with that, I've run out of things to say. I will see you in the next video, and until then, I'm Sam Morgan, and this is Pictures Up.